Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Windshield Time, the podcast where we help you use your windshield time to turn learning into earning. Windshield Time is brought to you by Service Excellence, of course. I'm Chris Elmore, your host. The co-host, still extraordinaire, is Harold James Walker Jr., otherwise known as J-Dub, my excellent good friend. Today on the podcast, we will be talking about how low can you go and why. Hang in there. You like that? That was a.
I love it.
You like how I change up the cold opening a little bit each time?
It's so good. And then you said "hang in there," as in like it's a petition for
like the poster of the cat with his claws hanging on by like two claws,
or like the people who are like down at the Alamo get a little email from somebody. Hang in there, guys. We'll be there soon. Just stick it out. We're gonna rescue you. Hopefully, that's not what these people listening to feel.
I think you're mixing your
time frames.
You're mixing your timelines and all kinds of isms. I don't know which ones.
I did throw emailing in with the Alamo just because I can, and this is a format that allows.
It would seem to me the Alamo was an urgent situation. It would seem to me a text message would get to
them
faster. You know what I mean? Depending on how many bars they had.
Truth.
Because I mean, now downtown San Antonio, you got like super fast 6G, whatever it's called these days.
Oh yeah. Top notch.
So, what's new?
Well, what's new is I did almost decide to dress as our inimitable boss, Todd Lyles, for this interview. When changing shirts, I had the consideration, should I just leave my shirt off and do this shirtless? Chris, should I have done that?
You remember the podcast we were talking about, J-Dub Ruins Podcast? That would be the second episode. Ironically, the second and final episode of J-Dub Ruins Podcast.
Yeah. So, no, I don't have the musculature to go shirtless to my adoring public. So, other than that, man, not a whole bunch has been going on. Got a little bit of a weekend plan set aside. I'm going to go do some fun stuff with the kids. My son's going down to the Dominican Republic.
Which one?
On a mission trip. Which
son, not which Dominican Republic. I know which one of those. I was just saying,
there's only one Dominican Republic that I'm aware of. The one on the left, the right side of the island, I think.
No, the Dominican Republic I'm talking about is the dark web one.
The dark web. My middle son, my 16-year-old, the one who needs to go down to the Dominican Republic so they can pray for him, is what I have to say at this moment. He's getting on my last nerves.
Poor guy.
Anyways, poor guy. But that's kind of what's going on with us. What's the latest with you, brother?
I think this weekend we're going to work on the grandkids' room at our house.
Nice.
I think. Oh, so you got to hear this.
Oh,
okay.
I'm in.
So I live in Dripping Springs down here in Austin, as you well know, and I'm sure you guys are getting them too. Like, we don't get rain at all during the day. No, we get thunderstorms at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, is we getting crushed?
Like it's the last several, like the last week, it's happened. What 3 or 4 times, Alex, probably. And so last night, right before I left the office to go home, my wife texted me. She said, "Hey, the trundle bed. We had a single trundle, but a trundle bed is the one where you have the pull-out drawer underneath, and you can either use it as storage or put another mattress in it, right? And so that was given to us by a friend of ours, and we thought we'll put it in the boys' room, and who knows why? Maybe somebody will sleep in there as a guest room kind of thing. Well, we never use it for that. When the boys are at our house, Jude sleeps in there. So she put it on Facebook yesterday. Now, I don't know if it's the same with you, but if I want to get rid of something, I just tell my wife, can you put it on the Facebook under the whatever that Facebook thing is, the underground
Sure.
where the underground black market or whatever it is. It's like a neighborhood black market, and you put anything on there, it's gone. So she puts this trundle bed up. She says it's got the mattress, and it's a really nice mattress. And you know how I know
Yeah.
that? I've never slept on it,
Mm.
but it's heavy. So you know it's a nice mattress,
Oh, there
right?
you go. Either that or bed bug laden. Yeah.
One of the two. So anyway, so this lady says, yeah, I'll take it. Do you know if it's solid wood? Yes. We're going to paint it, but it'd be great for us. My wife says, okay, we'll put it out on the porch. And she texts me, telling me we got to do that. I get home. She says, well, what time can I tell the lady we're putting on the porch? I said, I don't know. It's 5:30 or so. I said, 6:30. So as I'm grilling the pork loin,
Mm.
between times checking it and the timer, I'm taking this bed apart and bringing it down in pieces. Well, finally we get it all downstairs. We eat. We put it out on the porch. 6:20. Lady never messages back after Laura says it's out there. Never hear from her. So we just leave it on the front porch. And it storms last night.
Mm.
And it gets wet. Now the lady's not responding to us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the thing about Facebook Marketplace, man. It is.
No. This is not Facebook Marketplace. This is the neighborhood Facebook page that operates
Oh,
like some underhanded dark web.
sure.
I don't know what you'd call it, but
Dripping
anything
Springs Mafia.
it's like, hey, babe, you know, it'd be nice if we had one of those little tables with chairs for the boys so they can sit and draw and stuff like that. I'll come home the next day. We have one. Oh, wow. Where did you get that? Facebook.
Yeah.
Does your wife do that?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, my wife gets rid of stuff, man.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
still can't get over.
Where's
We'll buy
the thing?
something.
Oh, I got rid of. How'd you get rid of it? I'll put it on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll buy something for like $500, and then 3 weeks later, we're not using it. She's like, gone. $5. Take it. I'm like, oh, whoa, wow. We could have got like 100. She's like, it's not worth it to me. Just get rid of it.
All
I
right.
was like, okay.
Did you ever watch the show Everybody Loves Raymond? I mean, it's 20 years old,
Yeah.
but did you ever watch that? Okay, so you know the brother Robert. Alex, do you know what
Yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond is? Okay, so there's an episode where Robert needs to borrow some money. Well, they loan him $1,000, and he goes to Vegas with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't name names, but a certain family member of ours, we had a sectional sofa.
Hmm.
I think it was a sectional sofa, and we're like, it's too big for the room it's in since we moved, and we don't want it anymore. And this family member says, I'll take it.
I'm gonna start guessing names.
They come to the house, they pick it up. A week later, it's on Facebook for $700, and we gave it to them.
That's amazing, dude. You're lost, dude. You're lost.
I guess, but I'm telling you, whatever. The rule of law has no function on the Facebook underground
seriously.
swap thing.
It
I
is
can tell
hunter
you.
gatherer, winner takes
There
all.
is no
Darwinian at its
ethics.
finest.
There's no ethics.
Oh, that's great.
So I come outside this morning to head to the office about 7 o'clock, and half the bed is falling over into my flower bed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I bet
Whatever.
you that mattress is a little heavier now, isn't it?
Well, maybe they flush the bed bugs out as soon as it's dry.
Maybe
it'll be
so,
lighter.
maybe
So it
so.
could be that.
True.
So today we're talking about, and you know, maybe it's obvious, but on this podcast we like to be a little more extemporaneous with what we do, and so we prep a little bit. We have the notes. We deal with this stuff every day. And so what we're bringing you is contemporary conversations that we've had with people or things we've taught. And so sometimes I'll have something, sometimes James will have something. And today, friends and neighbors,
That one time. It's that one time out of 30.
J-Dub has brought a topic to us today. And today's topic is about customers choosing the lowest price. And why do they do that? And what is your role in that? So stay tuned. Maybe I should have used that as
Wait
the
a minute.
cold open.
Yeah, I was about to say we already had the
Well, it's
cold
a warm
open.
open. It's a warm open.
It's a warm
It's a
open.
warm. So
S-
introduce the topic.
yeah. So the reality is this. Let me just paint the picture here, Chris. You're given multiple
Yes,
options.
James.
Right now, nationally speaking, there was a couple of surveys that were done. Gallup poll 2013 and 2023, 10 years apart, one pre-COVID, one post. What percentage of the population would you say buys the most expensive thing because it's the most expensive thing? What do you think that they came back and said? They buy the Balenciaga or the Ferrari because
Uh,
of the name.
Anybody who is on a reality show on uh, the E Network or
Sure,
TLC,
Bravo. There
the
you go.
Bravo. Yes,
Yeah.
any of those. That's
Three,
who.
3 to 5%. Okay. 3 to 5%. Now you probably know this stuff, Chris, because you've been around long enough, but I always what?
You keep using my name, and so every time you use my name, I will use your name.
Okay. So I put this to the guys and I asked them, flip the script. What percentage of the population per the Gallup poll buys the cheapest thing because it is the cheapest thing? And I'll have guys say 30%, some guys say 60%. Off the top of your head, do you know what those numbers came back as, Chris?
Off the top of my head,
Yeah.
can the top of my head be Chat GPT? And can you give me a minute?
No. Yeah. Here you go.
I would say it's probably in the 40s.
Uh, 2013, the number was 15%. 2023, the number is 18%. 18% of the time, people buy the cheapest thing because it's the cheapest thing. And I get some pushback from guys on that because I'll say, well, that's not my case. I buy the cheapest thing I can get. And I say, well, think through your cars, think through your TVs, think through your refrigerators. Did you buy the literal cheapest TV you could find? And I had one guy go, well, yeah, I did. I said, well, tell me about the TV. He goes, well, it was a 75 inch. And I was like, stop. Okay. You got a 75 inch. You could have gotten a 60, a 42, a 35 inch. You got the cheapest 75-inch TV you could find. He's like, well, yeah, that's what I meant. And the reality is, nobody, not that many people buy the literal cheapest car they can find. They find a truck, not a car. They find 4 doors, not two. They
Right.
find
Okay.
air
Yeah.
conditioning that works. They find it in red. They find it with leather interior, but then they find the cheapest one of those. And for most of us, we fall in that middle range of like, I get all that I really, really want at a price that is as close as I can get to cheap as possible, right? That means that they are making discriminating choices. And my challenge back is if at 50% of the time, 30, 40, 50, people are ending up at your cheapest option and saying yes to your cheapest option, at least 32% of the time, it's because you're not giving them a reason not to, if all the numbers are accurate. You with me?
Oh, yeah. And
So
or you're not giving them something else to choose.
not giving them something else to choose. You are making it about the simple price. And there's a lot of unintended things. So I'm just going to toss a couple of these out there and we're just going to have an open conversation. Like right now, I do this exercise up on the board. And I said, I'm just going to put 4 options up here, guys. You don't know what we're buying. You have no idea. Option A is 4,000. Option B is 3,500. Option C is 2,500. And option D is $250. 4,000, 3,500, 2,500, and $250. Out of 1,000 people asking to make a decision about which one they're going to purchase, what are most people going to buy? You
They're
don't
going
even
to
know
buy
what you're buying.
the 250. And I can tell you why I would do that.
Well, to unpack that, talk to me why.
Because if that was my choices, 4,000, 3,500, 2,500, 250. First of all,
Yeah.
there's a ridiculous gap between
Yes.
250 and 2,500. 2,500
You
to
can do-
4,000 is not that much of a gap in those other 3
Right.
choices. But 250, there's a big gap. But for me, the real thing is, I think most people buy using the knowledge that they have
Yeah.
first. And if the person wanting them to buy something can provide relevant knowledge that complements what they already know and things like that, then they probably add that in. And that's the difference, I think, in getting someone to upgrade off the low end. But the real reason in that case that I would go for the 250 is because that is the only knowledge I have is the price. Right. And I know more about that than anything else there is because there is nothing else. And so in that case, the safest option in the face of ignorance is to use the thing you know, which is I know the price, I know the money, and I don't want to spend as little as possible to get this thing, I'm going to go 250 because I don't even know what I'm buying.
Well, there's one of the thought processes and why I say we don't even know what we're buying, don't know what the value is or anything else. We're just working on numbers. I can do 250 10 times before I come to the level of the 2,500. And the thought process is we can actually unintentionally guide people to purchasing options based on how we actually show numbers. So let's flip the script, right? So flip the script. By the way, if you've got a really high option, some pretty other, and then a very, very low rung option, you're going to drive people that direction. If I switched it around and had A, B, C, and D, and I had 4,000 as A, 3,000 as B, 2,800 as C, 2,650 as D. Now I'm kind of being over emphatic, but whenever you have that big drop first to the second level, and then a smaller drop, you create natural validation apart from any other context that middle number is going to be better for them because it's only a $200 difference.
Essentially funneling.
You're funneling them literally on nothing else except the fact that the price structure is dictating that their attention is focused on the one that you value most.
Yeah, and then everybody puts assumptions based on their buying, their personal buying process, because everybody has a personal buying creed that they follow, whether it's articulated or not. Everybody has that. And it's informed by past experience. It's informed by how they were raised to think of money. We talked about this on a podcast recently about money prejudice, and how you were raised with money, the sage, in air quotes, wisdom. Oh, I can do air quotes because if you're watching it, there's air quotes.
That's nice.
So the sage wisdom you got from Grandpa about you always get 3 bids, that kind of thing, or I never buy the cheapest, or when it comes to this, this, and this, you always buy the cheapest because the rest of it don't matter. Those kind of, it's just more stuff to break when you buy the higher end stuff, that kind of thing. That was my grandfather's deal. But I'm pretty sure the conversion van he drove in the 80s would do it would rub your back.
Right. Everything.
So it would do everything. If you pushed a button and it did everything, whatever you wanted to do, you pushed a button and it happened.
Sure.
But I think that's what influences people because again, if we're being really extreme here and we're saying all we have is dollar amounts listed on a blank page and you have to choose one, right? In the absence of information and understanding what you're buying, in this case, zero information about what you're spending your money on, most people are going to funnel to the bottom end. But if they were raised that you never do the cheapest because it's always the gotcha, right?
Right.
You always do the next level up. I remember, it's funny. I remember a story about, I was watching an interview with Kid Rock. Are you familiar with the Kid Rock?
Not much.
You're not familiar with the Kid Rock?
I know who he is, but that's as far as I get. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't know any of his songs?
Not a lot.
Are you going to look one up?
No.
Hold on. Let's do it. Alex, name a Kid Rock song. He said he doesn't know any either. Okay. Anyway, I'm listening to this. I'm watching this interview with Kid Rock, and he lives outside of Nashville.
Okay.
And he bought some land, and he was going to put a house on a hill on the top of this. And so then he thought, why am I going to build a house that can get blown off the top of this mountain in a storm or a tornado or whatever? And so he put a double wide on it. Okay. Except he calls it the trouble wide.
Nice.
And it has mossy oak camo wrapped on the outside of it.
That's cool.
Okay. So anyway, Bob, that's what his friends like me call him. He's like, well, somebody like you have all this money. I mean, he says, look, here's what I tell my people. When I were buying the appliances and everything for the inside of this thing, I said, go to Best Buy or wherever, find out what's the most popular model and buy the one above it. And that was his buying process for buying appliances. Now, he didn't care about the price, obviously.
Right.
But he didn't say, I got all the money in the world, let me buy the most expensive one.
Right.
But he knew better than to buy the cheap one
Sure.
And so buy what everybody else is buying and maybe get one level above it. Maybe you'll get some more features and benefits to it.
Yeah.
But see, that's the example of his buying process and what would move him around in the absence of price. But more importantly, in the absence of understanding or knowledge about a dishwasher or a washing machine, you know what I mean? Or a refrigerator.
Sure.
He had
Right.
a basic buying principle or buying process. He said, this is what I do. And so
Well,
when you
you're
said maybe
bringing
think of that.
no, you're bringing up an interesting concept, which can be also added to the mix, which is the concept of consensus. Getting back to that book by Robert Cialdini, one of the principles of influence is consensus. And if I say, even, hey, Susan, yes, we can band-aid this with a capacitor, but most people in this situation actually do a capacitor and a cleaning because blah, blah, blah. They're, believe it or not, even though they have logical reasons to disbelieve you, now are part of the in group, the tribe of people, and we want to find safety in numbers.
Right.
So by using consensus statements, hey, most people in this situation are actually doing the cleaning along with this because that creates traction emotionally around an option that they might not necessarily. I went and bought a truck a couple of weeks ago. I was talking with a guy, and I was looking at like an LTD, an LT, an RTS, or whatever. And he's like, most people don't buy the LTS or whatever it was. I was like, really? He's like, no, it's a little bit more for this. I'd either go with the RST or the LT with an upgrade package. I was like, oh. And I don't know if he's lying to me, but there's this thought process of, hey, most people do this. And I trusted him. I liked him.
But
If
here,
everybody's doing it, I don't want to be the one idiot who's making the decision to buy the
but
wrong
here's
truck.
something on that. Alex, do we have a collision alarm? No. Rim shot. No, not a rim shot. Anyway, that's a collision alarm, but that's also the BS alarm, James.
Okay.
I'm sounding the BS alarm, okay? Because there is a technician out there right now yelling at his audio device in his, see, I didn't say radio, yelling at his
Yes.
audio device because what you just said could be manipulating. What would keep it from being manipulating is if it's true.
If it's true.
If it's true.
Yeah.
How do you know? So this is something that could be addressed in another podcast. But if you heard what James just said and you're like, oh, well, he's just saying it in a certain way to manipulate. No, because here's what I know about James. Other than when he talks about how ugly I am, he never lies about things. He always
Yeah.
tells the truth. I know that about James. But if you're in a home, the customer doesn't know that about you. They don't know whether you're telling the truth or not. And so what you have to do is it has to come from a truthful place in you. So guess what? You have to find out if most people do that, or you have to find out what most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do this. If that's true, then you say that, and you are not manipulating or using the customer if you do that, because you're giving them a fact
Yeah.
that they can't get anywhere else.
Or you can even cultivate the fact too, hey, most people, if they're planning on staying in their homes and getting the most out of their system, do some component of cleaning, just because if we only change the capacitor, it's gonna not address the conditions that created the failure.
Yeah.
Right. So just even that simple phraseology can help people feel better about that. Do not lie, do not fabricate, but allow the context of good decisions to drive their emotion to say, oh, I guess I didn't know. Most people buy that. That's interesting.
But that's true. Most people, we do want consensus, and we want to be in the club, and we want to,
Yeah.
you know, that we want to do what most people are doing, because there is, most of the time, there's wisdom in numbers.
Sure.
Well, that was before social media.
Right. Well, I mean, even if there's not wisdom in numbers, there's actually safety in numbers.
Safety in numbers, yeah.
So, yeah. And the reason there's a distinction between that is because even if you went on Amazon and you saw one item that had 5 stars on it, but it had 15 reviews, you had another item that had 4.4 stars, but it had 27,000 reviews. We often default to the 44 or 4.4 star, 25,000, just because there's safety in numbers.
Well, there's more
And even
people.
if I made a bad decision, at least I'm part of 25,000 people who made that bad decision, not the one lone idiot who made it on this other decision, right? So there's
let's
some real
address
power behind consensus.
So let's address in this situation what, and maybe we're getting to that point. What is it that you might say or not say or do or not do? What are some of those things that inadvertently push a customer to the low end, even if they might be thinking about something higher than that?
Sure, something higher. So again, this is all in context of a whole process, presenting findings, helping them understand meaning, asking questions of concern, notice, importance. But there's three things. There's a ton, but three we're just going to focus on more left, and then we'll just kind of unpack these. Number one is when you present the options, not presenting them from the top down, but presenting them from the bottom up. So
That's good or bad?
when I train, when you present the findings and what's going on today, you can start with the bottom. Hey, this is a capacitor. It failed. It failed because it's dirty. Because it's dirty, we now have to address the motor. We start with the bottom and work our way up when we discuss the findings. But when it comes to options and money, you start with the top and work your way down. How do I do that easily? When I'm explaining the findings, I tell them what options they're going to see. Hey, I'm going to sit back to the truck, pull some options together. I'm going to give you an option for a motor, capacitor, a cleaning, and a MERV. When we come back, we'll be able to talk. So I start with the most comprehensive option.
Well,
Why do
yeah,
we do that?
but again, basis for that is not just because we're trying to get them to buy the most.
Well, yeah, I was
We're,
about to
we're
get
the
into that, but you so eloquently interrupted me. That's okay.
oh, okay,
No, I'm messing with you. But stick with me, Chris. Think about this.
okay, James.
There's good news and there's bad news. Good news and bad news. If I asked 1,000 people, do you want the bad news first or the good news? Most people say, give me the bad news, get it out of the way, and then I want the good news, right?
Uh huh.
So imagine you're like Dick's Sporting Goods and you see a shirt for $65 and you take it up to the register and they tell you, hey, this is actually on sale. It's only $50. You're stoked. Imagine if you went to the register and instead of it being $65, they said, hey, this was actually mislabeled. I'm sorry. It's actually $75. If we allow our customers to win, that means we give them the worst news first and allow them to settle on better news and they have a happier disposition. As opposed to if they start at the cheapest and we try to work them up, they're already frustrated at 800. They get really frustrated at 1200. And by the time we get to 1600, we can't even make it past
Yeah,
that.
I like
As
that.
opposed to if you start at
Can I?
2300, you make it down. They might actually settle from the top down at 1600 and be happy and move up to only 1200 and be mad if we start at the bottom. So bottom up doesn't work except when presenting findings. Top down.
Let me give you.
You want to do it one. Go ahead. I'd love to hear something. There's two other things, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So yeah, I love that, and here's how it helps when you're drawing on the whiteboard. And think about it this way: you draw like a hill, and there's a gas station at the bottom of the hill, and there's a gas station at the top of the hill. Where do you want your car to run out of gas? If you could only, so if you choose the bottom of the hill, the gas station you have to go to is at the top of the hill. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or another way you can do it is you draw the hill and there's a gas station halfway on the hill.
Right.
Would you rather run out at the top or the bottom of the hill?
Right.
And where would you pick?
Man, I would want it to be where I don't have to push that car up the hill at all.
Right.
I want it to be as easy as possible.
So here's the way to think about it. If it runs out at the bottom of the hill, then it takes a lot of energy to push it up to the gas station. A lot.
Yes.
And you're taking every advantage you can. You're straining. It's stressful. You're wondering if you're going to make it or not. But if your car runs out of gas at the top of the hill and the gas station's slightly downhill, it's no strain at all because you're using the brakes. You can use the steering wheel and the brakes, and you can just coast into the gas station.
Coast it in. Agreed.
And that's the thing.
100%.
And if you think about it, the energy required to get a customer from the bottom to the middle versus the energy required to start at the top and guide the customer down if necessary to the middle, there's a lot less energy expended and everybody's happier.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happier. So finish the other 2 points on that.
Other 2 points. One at a time. I've been working with shops. This one shop I'm working with for 5 or 6 years. Phenomenal group of guys. I did a role play with them yesterday. And they were presenting options. And they said, Susan, I've got a tankless water heater for $8,000, or I've got a tanked water heater for 4,500, or I've got a thermostat and expansion tank for 1,800, or we can do this for 500, or we can just do this for 200. And they just presented everything at once, info dumped them, completely clouded the conversation with no meaning, and they allowed the customer to basically only hear that last dollar amount as their anchor point or landing, right? So when you present them, you present one at a time. I focus on option A. I go all the way through it. I explain the investment and ask them a question of meaning. What would it mean to have that solution as opposed to a lesser solution? Uh,
You handle
and I
objections.
find that most of my guys default to showing all at once because they're scared of camping on a solution. But candidly, if you build your
Well,
solutions the right way,
yeah, camping on a
it
solution
works
is
better.
part of it, but I think also some technicians believe they feel like, okay, if I don't show the customer all of the options before they make a choice, then I'm withholding something from them.
Yeah. Well, I think fundamentally that's where we tell them on the front side.
Well, yeah, but what I'm
I
saying
think,
is just to address
yeah,
that directly is that you're not withholding anything because you've told them all the information
yeah,
up
yeah,
front, because your professional recommendation should be the one that makes it work the best, last the longest, be the safest, and be the most reliable. And
yeah,
here, one more time, your professional recommendation should be what makes it work the best, last the longest, be the safest, and be the most reliable, because that's what is right for the customer, the home, and the system you're working on. And you are the qualified expert. So you know what that is. The customer doesn't know what that is. But I think it also, James, it goes to back to what I said earlier about the information the customer has. If a customer doesn't know what a Helsinki smash rod is, but they know it's $500,
right,
then what are they going to use? They don't know what a Helsinki smash rod is. They're not familiar with it. And especially
right,
if it's got the enhanced and extra strength snibbling pin in it, then
sure,
they don't know what that is either. But what they do know is $500, and they know how much they want to spend, and they're going to go on the information that they have, and they go, okay, do I need the reinforced snibbling pin? Because they
right,
don't know what it is. That's why they're asking you if you need it, if they need it.
sure,
And so I think educating the customer as efficiently as possible, customer friendly, all the stuff we've talked about before. I think that goes to it as well, because then you are allowing them to make a decision of something other than just the money.
agreed. And so when it comes to actually presenting the options, if you get hung up on not telling them all at once, when we present the finding, we tell them, I'm going to give you options for just basic band-aids all the way through. I just want to focus on this one to see what you like about it and what you don't, because all our other options fit inside this. It's not difficult if you do it well. You just communicate effectively, which gets back to the education, which gets back to our last point, which is explaining what they stand to lose. As you move down in solution, explain what they stand to lose. And fundamentally, again, in a role play, there was a guy who said, Mrs. Jones, I've got a capacitor, a contactor, and a cleaning as option B here. And here's the investment, $1,500. And we role played, and Mrs. Jones said, well, that's a lot of money. And he goes, well, I've got the capacitor and the contactor for 700. Does that sound better? And I timed out. I was like, well, yeah, it sounds better. Why? Because it's $800 less, but you didn't explain what they stood to
Yep.
lose. What you have to say is, yes, it costs less. In fact, it's $800 less. But what we're not getting is that we're not addressing the conditions that created the scenario in the first place. How big of a concern is it that we literally fix the problem and do nothing to prevent it from happening again, Mrs. Jones?
Yeah.
And unless you explain what people stand to lose as you progress down the levels, they're going to arrive at the last level not seeing
Mm.
anything other than price because they haven't lost anything value wise.
Yeah. Well, and
Thoughts
again,
on
that
that? What
that
do you
goes to giving them something other than the money to base their decision on.
Right.
If you just give them names on a sheet and they don't remember what they are, or they don't understand the consequences of removing something, what they're going to lose, or the negative consequences that are going to persist if they remove something, then all they can go on is the money. It's something you said about presenting all four. There's another practical thing about, or three or four. If you present everything all at one time, and there's been several studies done on it, there's been several flat rate systems out there that have tried it all different ways on how to lay out pricing. And whether it's three or four, most of the time we start from left to right, and we read left to right. So you're normally thinking smallest to largest, left to right. Okay. Well, then people said, oh, well, no, do all three of them or four of them, but put the highest one on the left and go highest to lowest, left to right. Because that mixes up the brain, right? Because they're naturally going to start when they look at them on the left, because we read left to right in Western civilizations, right?
Right.
And so then there's like, oh, no, let's do it. So we start with the highest at the top of the page and we come down to the lowest. Well, again, if we're thinking in this situation, most of the time this is a forced buy. We've talked about the forced buy and the fun buy before. In the forced buy, in the fun buy, you want to spend, you're not concerned about how much you spend to get what you want. You'll spend as much as you need to get what you want, right?
Right.
But in a forced buy, you want to spend as little as possible to get what you want, which is the minimum you need, right?
Right.
And so you're already going into it in the forced buy with, I'm spending as little as possible. If I go top down, highest at the top, lowest at the bottom, automatically you go to the bottom to look for the lowest price. That's where you go. Automatically you go to the right-hand side or the left-hand side to look for the lowest price. Oh, well, we'll flip it around. Well, no, now you see the high price, you immediately look to the far end of it because you want to get the bracketed range, and now you settle on the lowest price.
Right.
If you do it top to bottom or bottom to top, whatever, people understand if there's four, they're going to be in either increasing order or decrease, or increasing price or decreasing price. So they're going to bracket it, and they're going to find the lowest price. That's why you never show all four of them at the same time or three of them at the same time until you've explained all three or four of them. Right? So there's lots of these things that we've told you before, that a lot of stuff we talk about here is really psychology. It's really what it is. It's understanding your psychological reaction to something, the customer's psychological reaction to something, all these things. And certainly the psychology says that we're going to go for lowest price first. So if we start at the highest and work our way down, handling objections as we go, that's the best way to handle it so the customer is most informed, right? Because if the customer is not informed, like for instance, let's say you laid them out and the customer automatically, no matter what you were saying, it was like, I'm going to make a reference here. Let me test it on Alex first. Alex, if I said Charlie Brown's teacher, would you know what I was talking about? Well, see, that's the funny thing, Alex. He said he could see the face. You never see their face, Alex. All you hear is their voice. You don't know that reference, Alex? Okay, he recognized the voice. It was a great impression, I have to say. And so when you put all four of them out there and you start with the top and work your way down, the customer's eyeballs are always going from the one you're talking about to the lowest one. They're always flicking back. Watch their eyes. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what they hear as you're talking about the other ones, that's what they hear, right? And so that's why.
Sure.
And then here's the thing. They're not informed enough to make a decision on going with the lowest price. That's why you start with the highest and work your way down. If they agree to one before you get to the lowest one, you haven't withheld anything, because the lowest option, you've already taken care of it in the higher options anyway. So recap the points on this one, James, because this is good. And this is one you guys are going to want to listen to over and over. So recap the points.
If more than 1/5 of the time, people are going with your lowest option. It's because you're not giving them enough information not to make that decision. One of the ways is strictly by the numbers. After a big dip, people stop. So if you have a major drop from one number to the next and a smaller drop from that number to the following, people are going to naturally funnel towards that middle number. Number two, we talked about uh, starting with the top down and rather than the bottom up when it comes to presentation of options. Three, we talked about having the was not what they stand. Oh, one at a time, focusing on one at a time. Four, we talked about what they stood to lose. We talked about something else in the middle that I thought that was kind of a throwaway that was actually really good. You brought it up. I forget what it was. Anything else that I
It was
missed that we
probably
talked to
pretty
recap?
profound. I know if I said it was profound. I'm sure Jesse will listen to it and tell us what it is and make fun of us about it.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, but again, I think this is one. Get the transcript on this one, and also this is one you're going to want to listen to again. There's a lot of psychology we discussed in here, and it's about why do customers choose the lowest price, and how do you contribute to that? Yes, you figured out
Consensus.
That's right.
That's what it was.
That's right. So, how you cause a customer to go to the lowest price is all in how you present the information to them. And remember that you are never withholding anything from them. If you were starting with the top down, you were telling them everything. And if a customer asks you, and let's leave on this, the customer asks you, well, do I really have to do all that stuff? What's the real answer? What's the truthful answer, James?
They don't have to do anything. They don't have to do anything.
You know what, James?
They don't have to do anything.
Obviously,
we'll do anything.
If you want it working, you have to do something. But if you want it to work the best, last the longest, be the safest, and be the most reliable, you need to do all of it. That's the true answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can I just do this, this, and this? Yeah, absolutely. You can just do this, this, and this. However, if you don't do this and this, the money you spend on these things will be almost wasted because it's going to happen again. If the question is, will it get me through will it get me another 3 or 4 months out of it? Possibly, but there's no way to tell. So in all of this, and this is what we have to underlie all this with, is that you're being truthful the whole time. There's no manipulation. You're being truthful. But I'll say this again, too, as we've talked about in other topics on the podcast, when we are presenting things from an expert standpoint to a layman, which the customer is a layman, you are an expert, we sometimes have to present things in a way for them to get the maximum understanding in the limited amount of time we have. And so we can't go into all the technical logic and all that kind of stuff. We can't do lots of speculating. We can't, as my friend Kelvin likes to say, do the argued out version of everything. We have to condense the communication into the time we have with the customer. Right? And so that necessitates doing things in a certain way and by a certain order and a process and remembering certain principles. So again, go back and watch this one again or listen to this one again, get the transcript, really digest this. This could be part of your practice, is listening to this again. James, how can they learn more about this from you?
Learn more about it. Give me a call, text, email, james@servextra, servextra.com or 254-230-5266.
If you want to talk to me more about it, it's Elmore at servextra.com, 254-733-7109. By the way, go to our website, www.servextra.com, and check out our resources. Lots of free stuff to download, lots of other podcast episodes. Like and share the podcast. Send us suggestions for topics. We love to hear from you because you are the reason we do this. James and I can just talk on the phone about this stuff all day. But the reason we do this is for you guys to have something while you're driving between calls so you can enhance your knowledge. You can get better at what you do. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, whatever. James, what do we do here at Service Excellence?
Service Excellence, Chris, we turn learning into earning.
Bye, everybody.